Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming a horror talk radio host, very funny guy, very politically incorrect. He goes by Uncle Creepy, but his name is Steve Barton, and we'll be talking to him today. About a month ago, Barbie Wild posted her interview with Brainwaves Radio, the name of his radio show, on Facebook, and I was on the floor just fucking laughing my ass off at it, and I was like, holy shit, I gotta reach out to this guy. Just so damn irreverent and politically incorrect and raunchy. I just love it, and it's so real, and he gets such real guests in the world of horror on the show and stuff. I mean, I do too, of course, but the ones he gets are just full throttle. And I'm going to have him on today, and it's going to be pretty fucking sweet. Pretty fucking sweet. So, yeah, here's my interview with Steve Barton, a.k.a. Uncle Creepy. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Tommy, how are you? So sorry, dude. I was stuck in traffic.
Oh, it happens, man. It happens, especially where you're at.
Yeah, I was hoping to be home like 20 minutes ago, and instead, boom, there was a fucking light out, and everybody drives like an idiot when the light's out for some reason. They just can't understand every other car. It's like, okay, I'll tell you.
No, I know it. Oh, man. Well, thanks for taking the time today, man. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I'm so sorry for being late. It's just, anyway, what do we do, baby? Okay.
All right, dive right into horror. So, did you get into horror at an early age?
Dude, I was 3 years old.
Yeah, I was about 2.
It doesn't get much earlier than that, but one night, I was a little kid, and
Yeah.
And I heard that was like my cue to head to the living room and watch TV. So I would just, the coolest shit would play at night,
Yeah.
I fell in love with the TV, and one night I was watching. It's like a giant black white console TV, like the type of TV that's so big when it breaks, you just say fuck it and put another TV on top of it. Am I allowed to curse?
Oh, you can swear all you fucking want, man.
Okay, just wanted to make sure because I have a sailor's mouth. But anyway.
I do too.
So I'm sitting there and I'm watching this newscast about the dead coming back to life. And we had to get to rescue stations. So I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
In my parents' bedroom, and I woke them up, and I'm like, we gotta go. And they're like, oh, you're at blah, blah, blah. No, I didn't. I grabbed my mom, and I started pulling her to the living room, and my dad was hugely pissed, but he was right behind her. And I pointed at the TV, and of course what was on was that infamous scene from Night of the Living Dead where they're having the newscast, and they're telling people what to do.
Yeah.
And, dude, I got my first spanking that night. And as I was laying in bed with my fucking ass throbbing, I said to myself, that was so cool, man. I was terrified out of my wits, yet I was absolutely safe. And it's that same feeling I've been chasing ever since.
Wow, so Night of the Living Dead was your first horror movie you saw?
Yeah, and many years later, I had the good fortune of befriending a lot of the cast, including George, who was a really, really close friend of mine for many, many years, thanks to that story. And I told him, dude, you're responsible for my first ass whip. And he goes, I'm sorry about that. He's just George was amazing. He was, I missed him every day.
Yeah, I never got to meet George, but I've met Judith and Russ and John and Kyra and I've interviewed John and Judith. I've tried to get Kyra on, but I've never heard back from her.
Yeah, she doesn't do that many interviews anymore. She's a really close friend. I will always be crazy in love with Kyra. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember we're taking our picture at the convention, and like I get some of her hair in my mouth, and she's like, "Have a free lock on me."
Yep, that's Kyra.
Yeah, the first horror movie I saw was The Shining, and I was 2 fucking years old, man. And I don't know why my parents let me see it at that age, but it scared the shit out of me. And we had it on a Kovac VHS tape, which I still own, by the way, but we taped it over in 1987 for Back to the Future. And if you rewind it to the very beginning of the tape, before the HBO rated PG graphics come up, you can actually see Shelley Duvall talking to the doctor.
Oh, and that's hilarious.
It's fucking spooky, man. Oh man, it's spooky.
That was a really, really good movie. That's definitely on my top 5 movies that actually scared me. I'm as jaded as they come, dude. It takes a lot to scare me, and that movie, especially as I saw it at such a young age, I remember the Grady twins just scaring the shit out of me.
Yeah, and I heard they've been doing conventions lately, but they charge ridiculous prices for photo ops.
Yeah, well, they got to make a living, man. I don't begrudge anyone for what they charge. I personally I can't imagine ever charging anybody for anything, just because I'm just not like that. But then again, what the hell have I ever done? So there's no reason to get my autograph, really. So who cares,
Yeah, but don't sell yourself short. It's you still got time.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. I got some forks in the fire.
Yeah, I'm trying to. We're all trying in the world of horror to make it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a really small circle, man, and I think by and large, people would be really shocked to see how small it actually is. But when it comes to horror movies and horror filmmakers, I mean, we're like all we have out here, and we try our best to take care of each other, because it's like horror has always been like the red-headed stepchild of the film industry. And that's nothing against red-headed stepchildren. Please, you could be a stepchild of anything, or blah, 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 blah. Don't mean to cause any offense. It's just expression. But, it's always been treated like the bastard. And that's nothing against bastards. They've always been treated poorly, and there's nothing against the poor. No, they've always been treated poorly by the rest of the upper echelon of the film community, and that's such bullshit. It's like it doesn't matter how much money these movies make. It's like, when will we get our chance for legitimacy? And maybe we don't need it, because maybe we know the horror genre is legit. I mean, how many times have you been in a line somewhere and you see somebody wearing an Evil Dead t-shirt or something like that, and you guys don't even have to say anything to each other? There's just like this moment of recognition, this nod, and that motherfucker is cool,
Yeah. Fucking absolutely. So what are your favorite horror movies?
Let's see. Night of the Living Dead, of course, for obvious reasons, obvious ass-throbbing reasons. Paranormal Activity, I love the original Paranormal Activity. Of course, The Exorcist, and even Exorcist 3. There's never a wrong time for me to watch Exorcist 3. The movie's just so damned creepy. Recent, I'd have to say, I'm a big fan of the Conjuring series. I love the Insidious movies. I don't know if I mentioned Paranormal Activity, but I'm a huge, huge fan of at least the first 3 entries and the marked ones. I thought the marked ones was pretty good. And most recently, Terrifier, which I just fell crazy in love with the moment I seen it. And I knew at that point I was kind of reaching the end of my tenure with Dread Central, and I wanted to leave behind something good. And if Terrifier ends up being my swan song in that particular company and in that space, I am more than cool with that. That movie needed to be out there. It needed to be out there uncut. It needs to be seen. That movie needs an audience because, there's so many filmmakers out there who try and make that kind of movie,
Mm-hmm.
And whether it be budgetary limitations, which everyone faces, even you'd be surprised how often even bigger name filmmakers have to deal with that, or whatever. Damien Leone, he pulled off that kind of movie damn near effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much fun. And David Howard Thornton as Art the Clown is so memorable. And, for a long time there was a fear like, oh, will this be considered an It knockoff? And it's so not that. It's apples and oranges to Stephen King's It. And Stephen King's It is a masterpiece. It's a great story.
Yes,
the
it
movie
is.
was awesome. Even the TV version has a lot of its merits, It's not as good as I remembered it being, having seen it again recently, but you can't knock Tim Curry's performance in that movie as it's just elevating to every level, so.
Yeah, my favorite horror movies are the ones that I wouldn't mind being stranded with on an island are the original 1980 Friday the 13th, my favorite slasher movie of all time. The original Dawn of the Dead, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
There's a movie Charlie Band made in the 80s. For some reason, he never talks about it, and there's not much written about it on the internet. It's called The Alchemist.
Oh, yeah, man. That's a great little movie.
Yeah, it's so underrated. It's one of my favorites. It's actually on that tape I just told you about. My parents kept the tape running, and it was taped on it, and I still have it on there. And so that and do you remember Mirror Mirror?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, love that too. The 1931 Dracula. God, there's so many.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Frankenstein and The Creature from the Black Lagoon. I mean, classic horror is really, that's my passion. I'm most likely to put on a classic horror film than just about anything else. If I had to pick what I think is a near perfect movie, I'd say John Carpenter's The Thing. That movie blows me away every time I see it. There are things, even now that we've advanced so far in the field of special effects, there are moments in that movie that Rob Bottin created that I have no clue how he pulled off.
Oh, Rob Bottin did The Howling, which is my favorite werewolf movie. But I'll tell you, The Thing, I've never been able to get into The Thing because it's kind of slow moving, But it's funny. I was reading Quentin Tarantino. When he did Reservoir Dogs, he was influenced by The Thing and Stanley Kubrick's earliest movie, The Killing. Both of those movies are two different movies, but they were influenced for Reservoir Dogs. But I can respect that. And I'll tell you, I was at Son of Monsterpalooza last year, and the lines were out the door for the cast of The Thing.
Mm-hmm.
There was
dude.
Wilford Brimley and Keith David and David Clennon and a couple other people there. Yeah, I mean, people go nuts for that movie, but I've never been able to get into it.
You should give it another try, man.
I did about a year ago. It was on, and I just couldn't get through it.
You're the first person I have ever heard say that. But hey, man, to teach their own. I mean, horror is very subjective.
Yeah.
I don't knock anyone for any movies that they either like or dislike because horror fans, we're passionate. There's something clicks with us, or whether it doesn't, we only give our opinions out of passion, and there's a lot of opinions out there, and, there's room enough for all of them. So, hey, man, if that didn't work for you, I'm sure there's 19 other movies that do,
Mm-hmm. Do you know Harrison Smith?
Yes.
Oh, my God, that guy with his opinions. Oh, my God, I had him on a couple weeks ago, and he was just making me laugh my ass off at just, talking shit about this movie and that movie. He was great. I enjoyed him.
Yeah. Harrison's a good guy.
Very passionate about horror too.
Yes. Yes, very, very passionate.
So did you?
Death House actually got secured for DVD.
Oh, nice, because I haven't seen it yet. I really want to see it.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a cameo in that, as a matter of fact.
Nice. Did you have any crushes on any Scream Queens?
It's hard to say, man. I think if I had to pick one, it would be Adrienne Barbeau.
Oh, yeah.
Up because, and she's still absolutely gorgeous, but Adrienne Barbeau is a definite crush for me. I'd probably say her over just about anybody. I mean, there are other women in horror whose work I love, but when it comes to crush, yeah, Adrienne Barbeau did it for me. She still does, baby.
Oh, yeah. Nice titties, I'll tell you. Big one for me was Linnea Quigley, and I've interviewed her twice, and she interviewed me for her documentary a year ago, and oh my God, she's just amazing, I'll tell you.
Linnea is her own entity, man. God bless her. She's quite the character.
Yeah, she is. I enjoy talking to her, but I'll tell you, if you talk to her, you'll be on the phone a lot longer than you expected to be.
Hey, that's not necessarily a bad thing, dude.
Not at all. She's a great conversationalist.
Totally.
Do you think horror now, in terms of originality, is a little antiquated?
Well, I mean, the way things roll, dude, is everything that's old ends up being new again sooner or later.
True.
I think that while the concepts can be overused, I think a good filmmaker will be able to take those concepts and put their own spin on it, So I don't really think anything is antiquated. I think that maybe some approaches are antiquated,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a new way to do something familiar,
Mm-hmm.
But it really depends on the filmmakers. Some filmmakers, I mean, it's gotten really easy to make a movie nowadays. You can make a movie on your computer, and that's awesome. It also kind of sucks because sometimes you see these, and everyone, they put their heart into it, and anyone who creates anything, they just, it's easy to make something. It's so hard, it's so arduous sometimes, but that just because you can make a movie doesn't necessarily mean that you should. It's like give somebody, dough, cheese, and sauce, but that doesn't mean they know how to make a pizza,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of shit that you end up having to weed through to find the really good stuff, and that's why I've always been very lucky to be able to be in a position where I could kind of nudge people toward the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, last year, the mainstream horror films, I saw Get Out and Happy Death Day and the remake of it, and I like those movies a lot. But the last independent horror movie that truly moved me, and it was actually the first one in like a decade, was Jackson Stewart's Beyond the Gates.
Mm-hmm. Good movie, very, very good movie. Have you seen Terrifier yet?
No, somebody told me about that the other day. They said it was pretty good.
Check it out, dude. It's on Netflix.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I got Netflix.
It's violent as all hell, and it's a lot of fun.
I'll check.
That's one of only 2 movies I've ever staked my reputation on.
Nice. Yeah, somebody told me about it the other day. I was like, okay, I'll check it out and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a look. And even if you don't like the movie, you'll appreciate just the absurdity of the kills in that movie. You just have to appreciate them. And they're all practical. And Gabe Leone not only directed it, but he also did all the effects. So, I mean, that dude is somebody to keep your eye on. He really, really is.
Cool. Wow. When did you start going to conventions?
Oh, dude. First the Earth cooled, then the dinosaurs came. A really fucking long time ago, I was doing Fangoria Weekend of Horrors when I was like in my teenage years. So, I mean, I've been a fixture at conventions for quite some time. And they've changed a lot over the years. I think, I know I sound like the old man, oh, back in my day. During the 90s and early 2000s, there was a lot more of a party atmosphere at conventions than there is nowadays. The only conventions I really have a good time at now are, I would say, the Monsterpalooza conventions, just because I'm a monster kid and there's just so much cool shit everywhere around there. And also the Texas convention, Texas Frightmare Weekend, is an absolute blast. Lloyd puts on a show of shows, man. I mean, the hotel, everything, they go to great lengths to make sure that the horror fans and the horror crowd are appeased. And you know what? There's a lot of them. So these hotels should. I was at one hotel. It was like, I think it was like a Scream Fest, which is now Spooky Empire in Florida. And I ended up staying an extra night. And like when I got back to my room Sunday evening, there was like a whole different set of sheets. There was a body pillow. It's like they put out the shit stuff for the horror fans. And if I didn't stay there that night, I'd have been like, son of a bitch, look at this, you know?
Yeah.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah, I'm a late bloomer. I started going to conventions 2 years ago with Monsterpalooza. And when I was growing up, Fangoria was like the only one, and they would come to the Bay Area where I'm from every year. And my parents never took me because they weren't into modern horror, you know, so I never got to go. And then after I had my car accident 3 years ago, I decided that I was gonna stop putting my life on hold and start living and pursue showbiz. And I started going to conventions, and I'm hooked on them. And I went to one this weekend in Sacramento, and I realized, though, I'm a little uncomfortable going now as a fan because I got 250 episodes of the show under my belt now, and I want to get behind the scenes. So I'm going to work on that for 2019, get behind the scenes somehow, maybe even volunteer as a miracle, host panels, which I've been trying to do for like the last year or so. I'm not famous enough to do it.
You don't have to be famous, you just have to be loud.
Oh, I can be loud.
That shit is like second nature to me. You could put me in a room with thousands of people, and I will make sure every single person there has a good time. Just because, you have to be able to read a room, and I always adhere to the simple rule: if you're bored, then the people watching are definitely fucking bored. So I want to make sure everyone, when they go to a convention, especially one that I'm hosting panels on, has the best time they possibly can. Tonight on my show, I'm actually playing the audio from the Halloween 2018 40.
Nice.
Yeah. So you'll be able to hear me do my thing, and I'm pretty damn good at it. When I say that with all the humility in the world, but yeah, man, I know there was a Katie Featherston from Paranormal was at the convention in Sacramento, right?
Yeah, Sister Creature Con.
Right. I was talking to her after the one I did. Yeah, she's really good people. If you ever have a chance to go see Katie Featherston, just do it. She's so sweet.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to do that with the conventions and stuff. It's a lot of fun, and I just enjoy going to them. I wish I had done it years ago, but you live and you learn.
No, man, it's never too late, bro. I didn't figure out what the hell I wanted to do with my life until I was like 30. So you never let anyone tell you no. Just keep pushing and keep putting yourself out there, and pretty soon you're going to make enough noise for somebody to notice. At least that's how it worked for me, I'm very blessed to be in the situation that I've managed to get. And for me, it's all about helping the industry and helping the fans connect like doing. I like building these bridges, and that's very much what Dread Central was. And that's whatever I do from now on is going to be. You know, I want to make sure that the fans always come first. And I'm happy to do anything I can for them.
Oh, that's great. That's really good. So how did Brainwaves come about for you?
A lot of pot. No. Joe Netter and I, we met, God, way back on the Fangoria message boards.
Mm-hmm.
And we had become fast friends. And Joe is somebody whom I consider to be my brother, you know? And I love him because he's just as sick, fucking, and twisted as I am.
Mm-hmm. And,
you know, anytime people would see us together at conventions, they would always, like, kind of gravitate to us because, which is weird, but, well, we're the big, fat, ugly guys, right? And, but I don't know, I guess we had a good rapport with each other, and we made people laugh, and, you know, whether or not we were the it matters, as long as people were having a good time. And we just stayed friends, and we always said, and people always tell us, you guys should do a radio show. But back when we wanted to do it, when we first initially had that idea, you would have to put, like, this giant fucking dish on your house, and look like Frankenstein lives there, and now we just waited till it became easier, and we can put this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once it became a little bit more easy to do, we decided that we should finally do it. And now I think we're 100 episodes in. The show fills a really bizarre niche, man. I mean, paranormal and horror have always kind of been together, and there are things that we say on that show and things that we put out there on that show that, you know, it's ingest. It's all a matter of having a good time. We live in a very sensitive time right now, so every potential landmine when you say it, unfortunately. But you know, that only have us, and it's fun. We just have a bullshit, you know, and we when people listen, they feel like they're, and that's what I want them to feel. That's how I want to see it, because, you know, our fans, unless you're on, like, East Coast or the West Coast, there's just not a lot of shit for you to do, you know?
Yeah.
Especially, like, in Middle America. So there's this whole fucking sect of the United States that gets no love, and these poor kids out there, we don't feel like they have any to talk to, or anyone who feels the same way, or even knows that it's okay to like this shit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully those people would reach and let them know that it's fun. It's a...
Yeah, I mean, I discovered you guys a month ago when Barbie Wild posted the show on her page, and I was on the floor laughing my ass off.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do with this show. I try to be, you know, un-PC and very real like yours is. And, yeah, I grew up listening and watching Howard Stern. And so I've done crazy shit on the air like he has, you know. Like I've done a couple shows where I'm talking to some girlfriends of mine and we're, you know, flirting. And then, you know, I end up rubbing one out and shit, you know. I've done crazy shit like that.
Man.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with that shit, bro. And I wish you would have told me that earlier. I totally would have taken off my pants, man. Fuck it.
Yeah, well, I would have edited it, but, you know.
I hear you.
But yeah, I had Barbie on the show earlier this year, and I had her laughing her ass off. I was talking about, you know, horror villains and what their sex lives must be. You know, I said, do you think Freddy has ever actually walked into a wet dream? You know?
That's a great question, actually. I wonder how we'd react, you know? I don't know. That is an interesting question. I'm surprised no filmmaker has ever, like, fucking explored that yet.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen the last of Mr. Krueger. Maybe we've seen the last of him as Robert Englund. would have portrayed him, but I think he'll be back, and they'll find somebody to keep that torch burning. You know, the problem with Nightmare on Elm Street is Freddy is such a visible character, you know, who's known for his personality. So when you have a character like that that's so wonderfully written, you need an actor who can pull off that kind of persona, and Englund did that shit better than anyone ever could. So the search is going to be on for a new Freddy, I'm sure, eventually, and I hope they find somebody with some chops who has the right material and can really pull it off. I have no doubt that it'll happen one day, and I'm eager for that, because I know a thing or 12,000 about the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, having produced Never Sleep Again with Andrew Cash and Dan Farrens, and that shit was like fucking 4.5 hours long. I have no idea how we ended up getting, you know, it's really cool that we never thought anybody would watch that in its entirety, but people always come up to me and like, yeah, man, we watched the whole thing like in one sitting, and I'm like, wow, that's fucking cool. You know?
Yeah. When I met Heather last year, it was my birthday, and she gave me a free copy of I Am Nancy, and I enjoyed that documentary.
Oh, awesome. Heather's awesome. She's a wonderful, wonderful person.
Yeah, we were supposed to do an interview on the show. I never heard back from her, and then a year went by, and then that tragedy happened earlier this year, you know, which is unfortunate, but, you know, I'll talk to her someday.
Yes, you will. I'm sure of that.
So, have you had any trouble getting guests on the show because you're so un-PC?
No.
Really?
Well, again, everything is a jest to me. I've been in this industry for 18 years, so people pretty much know me. And when I do an interview with somebody, I do a different type of interview, because these people, I'm lucky enough to call them my friends. So they're a lot more at ease with me than they'd be with just about anyone else, you know? So it's that good fortune and that respect that I have with them that has carried me through. And they know that here's the hard thing to do in this industry, dude. And I'm very proud that I was able to do it. The film industry is probably one of the most disingenuous industries in the world.
Of course.
There's a lot of people out there that just look to screw you, and it don't even matter for what reason or to what end. It's just, you know, there's a lot of assholes out there. And I've managed to exist in this industry for 18 years, and I've never lied to you. I've never screwed over. I've never betrayed anyone. You know?
That's great.
And I'm very, very proud of that.
That's great. That's how everyone should be, you know. But you're one of the rare ones. You're one of the rare ones, and that's what's great about you.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Of course. But yeah, I mean, I haven't offended anybody in horror on this show. I did offend one actress outside of horror on the show, Claudia Wells, who played Jennifer in the first Back to the Future. We were talking. She was in the TV show version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High that didn't exist, or didn't last, actually. Well, yeah, it was non-existent. It did suck, and that was my point. I told her, I said, you know, the show wasn't that good because, you know, in prime time, you know, you can't have a scene where, you know, there's girls giving blowjobs to carrots, or, you know, getting caught jacking off in the bathroom, you know, like in the movie. And she got offended by that. But she forgave me, though. We talked in email later. She understood that I was trying to make a valid point, you know, about it and stuff, but she wished I had used better language, you know, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but, you know, that's what happened. And so she's the only one I've offended.
Well, you know, I mean, it happens, man. You gotta, when it comes to dealing with people, everyone has a right to feel exactly as they do.
Right.
You know? The only thing you could do is try to eke out your existence and stay true to yourself. And that's my best advice in dealing with everybody. I only have one thing in this world, and that's my integrity, and I'll compromise it for no one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's how it should be. Stand your ground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's funny, life's a weird thing, but the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And I try to always stay positive and make sure everyone around me has a positive experience with me. And it's really easy to sit there and worry about what could go wrong, but you know what? It's just as easy to get excited about what could go right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a firm believer that if you just keep pushing for the right reasons, eventually something good gotta happen. Who knows what it is, but something has to fucking happen, man. And I just want to be there when it finally does. And I hope one day I'm lucky enough to achieve some form of real success. And but even if I didn't, even if I don't, I've had a good time, man. I have no regrets. And I think I've done enough already where at least when I croak, I've left a little bit of a mark here and there.
Yeah, we all would like that.
Yeah, just a little bit of a mark. That's all I want one motherfucker to know I was on this planet at one point. That's all I want,
Mm-hmm. I've listened to many episodes, and you've talked to a lot of scream queens that I had no idea. I mean, ones that I've met, and some of them I knew were perverts, and some of them I didn't know were like Amanda Wyss and Kyra, and even Barbara Crampton, who is a little more reserved. I think she does that because she wants to be. I think she downplays her pervertedness because she wants to be an example to her kids now and stuff. But yeah, I was really shocked.
Well, man, I mean, listen, when it comes to perversions, it's a real thin line, and I'm only a pervert from my girl. That's we're perverts for each other, and I keep that shit in check there.
Yeah.
Because it's just, again, you just have to be careful, and you have to treat people with the kind of respect that you expect to be treated with.
Yeah.
Not everybody is going to be as open or out there as you. You can't hate on them for that. Certainly, it's just it is, and people should be respected. And people deserve as much respect as you expect to have. So you got to be cognizant of things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I respect people's boundaries and stuff, right? And I talk to them beforehand about stuff. I let them know that they can swear on this show, if they want to, and all that stuff. Are there any guests you haven't had that you really want?
Dude, what's funny? It's like from week to week, I don't even know who's going to be on the show. I really don't. I have a producer who lines up guests for me named Justin, who also appears on the show as Mr. Dark. And I just blame him for any time anything goes wrong because, well, hi, that's what he's for. No,
Yeah.
but I love him. I'm only kidding. I think the reason why Brainwaves works is because literally every week we're just flying by the seat of our pants. There's nothing ever planned. There's nothing ever discussed beforehand. I mean, literally, Joe and I sit down and do the show, and then we're done. I mean, there is no prep involved at all. So basically, it's a matter of me calling somebody and going, "Hey, what you doing?" "All right, guess what you're doing?" And then just making it happen. I don't know. We were lucky to be able to do that. I don't recommend anyone try that. It's not an easy thing to do, but I've been fortunate enough to surround myself with good people and be a good person to them. So I don't really have any wish list guests that I'm looking for. To me, everyone is just as important as anyone else. And that goes from the fan to Clive Barker. Everyone is equally as important in my eyes. And everyone should be treated with the same amount of equality. say is the main thing that I do is I just realize people are people, man. Everybody's human, whether you're a celebrity or whether you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that hard not to be shitty, you know? You don't have to be shitty to each other, you know? And I try never to be shitty to anybody. So thankfully I have a little bit of a good rep, despite how fucking weird I am.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Real quick, you have a cameo in the Amityville Murders.
Yeah, I pop up every now and then like a scorching case of herpes. That's me. I'm there. When you least expect it, I'm just there. You saw the movie?
Not yet, but Diane, she was my first guest, and she's coming back on for the 4th time next week to talk about it.
Diane's awesome. Yeah, she is such a pleasure to be around. She's so sweet and every bit as endearing, as charming as anyone could ever imagine her being. Yeah, she's one of those special people, man. I just love her to death. Actually, I'm having Dan Farrens, the director of Amityville Murders, on the show next week to talk about not only the movie, but the actual case of the Amityville horror.
Nice. Yeah, that whole Amityville thing, there's so much about that story, you know, that, you know, either the world does know or doesn't know. I mean, it's a long story, and that's why there's so many, you know, movies about it.
Well, it's compelling because there are things about the case which are irrefutable that just nobody understands or has an explanation for. And like how nobody heard the gun going off in that house is that I will never understand. I mean, have you ever stood by a firecracker? That shit is loud, and you could hear it from like 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
Shotgun going off? Come on, man. Multiple times? It's amazing. There are things about that I don't think anyone will ever be able to actually put their finger on. In terms of the haunting itself and what that is like, or if it happened, or if it was a hoax, we'll never know. I do believe something happened. I do believe that there were people, for whatever reasons, both pro and con haunting, that'll say shit to exacerbate whatever viewpoint they have. You know, I will never really know. And I think that's one of the things that makes the Amityville story so compelling, just because there are things about it that no one will ever be able to answer. And that's why that particular story has endured for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a loaded conspiracy theory that will probably never be solved. But hey, it's making for great entertainment.
Yeah, man, the Amityville Murders, not just because I'm in it, but it's a really good movie. It's probably the best Amityville movie at least. I mean, don't get me wrong, that bar isn't exactly high thanks to fucking things like Amityville 4 and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, it's right up there with Amityville 2, which Diane Franklin was also in, is like the best of the Amityville movies. You know, even the first one, to be honest with you, is a little dull. You know?
Yeah, it is.
It's a compelling story because it's true, and, you know, it has these moments that are just rife with all of the trappings and genre cues that you could possibly want in a horror movie. But Amityville 2 has always been my favorite of all of them, and I didn't even think the remake was that bad. I thought the remake was actually kind of interesting.
Right.
And even though Ryan Reynolds goes from totally normal guy to batshit nuts, like faster than a car could go from 0 to 60, but you know, it's still a fun little haunted house movie. But Amityville Murders and Amityville 2 are really solid flicks, as is that documentary, My Amityville Horror, which I think is the best representation of what happened in that house and to that family.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'll be checking that movie out when it gets released. I can't wait. Steve, thank you so much for taking the time today. I'll be listening to you guys all the time now.
I appreciate it, brother. I really do. And thank you so much for having me on. It means a lot to me.
Oh, my pleasure, man. You're a funny guy, and you're a great guy, and I'm glad that I've met you. And have the most...
Pleasure is mine, sir.
Yes, and have the most fucking awesome Halloween ever.
You
All right. Later. Bye. Well, there you have it. Steve Barton, a.k.a. Uncle Creepy. Ain't he a cool dude? Thank you so much, Steve. I think that the horror community is in good hands with you, even though your dick may be in your hands. I think that the community is in good hands. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.